in the original language. Hogla, Milcah, and Tirzah. And they stood before Moses and before Eleazar the priest and before the chiefs of all the congregation at the entrance of the tent of meeting, saying, Our father died in the wilderness. He was not among the company of those who gathered themselves together against the Lord in the company of Korah, but died for his own sin. They wanted to make sure that Moses realized that why he died. It was because of his own sin, not because of the sins of the company of Korah. So they were like, just letting you know, like it was because he did his own thing, not because of what the group did, right? And so he said, they said, and he has no sons. Why should the name of our father be taken away from his clan because he had no son? Give to us a possession among our father's brothers. Well, what is interesting is that they believed in the northern, that they were going to all be settling in this land. They had faith that they were actually going to take the land. When they came to Moses and asked these things, they actually had faith that this was really going to happen. They wanted a piece of that because of their faith that, hey, we know that God's going to give us this. And so because he's going to give us this, can we please take a piece of that, because our father doesn't have any sons to gain inheritance by. And so because of their faith, in that the land was going to be conquered and assigned, and that all of this was really going to happen, Moses brought this case before the Lord. And honestly, to me, this was really encouraging, just to see that these women came before Moses and appealed to him. And we know that culturally, women were not the people that held position or power. They actually didn't even make the sacrifices on themselves. Like it told us in Leviticus when it talked about making sacrifices, that the male of the family was to make the sacrifices for his family and different things like that, which would have been their father if they didn't have a husband. And I'm not sure how that translated if they didn't have a father, because he passed. So they came to Moses. That had to take great faith. I'm not trying to add anything to the Bible, but women were not the ones who were, instructed to do this type of stuff, right? And still in the New Testament, we have a submissive role in the under the authority of our husband in marriage. And then obviously as children, we submit to our father and honor our father and mother and all that kind of stuff. And it doesn't mean that we are a lesser person. It means that we have a different role. And I can tell you that the reason why, I'll speak for myself and not put that on anybody else, but the reason why I get so overstimulated, I feel like I need a break sometimes, is because it feels like the world is trying to make women not be what we were designed to be, and to just take care of and be the person that takes care of our family and loves on them. And yes, work is a part of that now, because in the culture we live, a lot of people cannot survive on a single income household like me and my family. But two, there's this important aspect of why we were created the way that we were, to be submissive and be the helper for our husband, to be the person who is the one that basically is the glue that holds the family together, under the leadership of her husband, right? That's the role of a woman. And so it's always been like that. However, these women saw that their family was going to be passed to the next nearest male relative, and they stood up and were like, hey, just because our father's not here, we find it kind of unfair. We want a piece of this. We want a piece of his inheritance because he doesn't have any sons. So that was a bold move. It really was. It was a bold move. And Verse 5 says, Moses brought their case before the Lord, and the Lord said to Moses, the daughters of Zelophehad are right. I love that. I love that God was like, they're right. They're right. You should give them possession of an inheritance among their father's brothers and transfer the inheritance of their father to them. Give them the inheritance, God says, and you shall speak to the people of Israel, saying, if a man dies and has no son, then you shall transfer his inheritance to his daughter. And I'm not going to read the rest of the part, but God gives like a succession of inheritance, like where it falls. He gives clear instruction of where it falls. If a man dies, he has no sons. If he doesn't have daughters, it goes to his brothers, and then not if his brothers, it goes to his father's brothers, and then it keeps going down the line. So like brothers, uncles, all this kind of stuff. And so God gives a clear succession of that. It also shows that God does not see women as invaluable. So it shows us that women are still valuable to God. Just because God created us to be helpers and submissive to our husband and under the authority of a man, and not in a way that's like abusive, but in a way that they shepherd us and love us and spiritually guide us and lead us and all that kind of stuff. And I'll give you an example in a minute, but God did that. He designed that so perfectly and intricately, and we live in a sinful and a fallen world, so we have to deal with, that part of it, but we're still important. I mean, he demonstrates this right here in chapter 27 when he says, yes, they should get part of the land. Yes, Moses, give them part of the land. They should get the inheritance, right? And so I'll tell you, last night, just an example of this is last night I like broke down. Pierce was arguing with me all the way to town. I had to go get groceries. I literally have not had a day where I didn't have something going on since, I think, last Monday. So I've been going for over 8 days in a row. I haven't been home. The house was not a mess, but like just messy. Their dishes needed to be put up. Anyways, so I walked in the house and I just lost it because Pierce was just in one of his moods last night where he was not happy with anything that I said and wanted to argue with me. And I just like fell apart when I walked in the house, and Dustin was like, oh no, calling the army. So he was like, he's really learning. They do learn. If you're new to marriage, they do learn when they need to like give you a minute and when they need to actually talk to you. We've been married for a while now, over 10 years. So I went and I locked the door so that Pierce couldn't get in the bathroom while I was taking a shower. So I went in there, locked the door, and I got in the shower, and I just fell apart. Like I was like, I just need a minute. And so they both came in there. Pierce was like banging on the door, Mama, why can't you unlock the door? And so they both come in there, and I was like, babe, I just need a minute. I'm stressed out. I need a minute. And he gave me a minute. And then I was like, I went into cleaning mode because that's what happens. And so I'm like going around cleaning the whole house, and he just comes in the kitchen and he was like, what is going on? And I told him, I was like, I'm just stressed out, and I come in and the house is messy, and it's too much right now. Like I got too much on my mind. I need to get it all straight. And I just feel like I can't keep up with anything. And he just like hugged me, and he was like, it's going to be okay. He was like, I'm going to start crying. He was like, you're doing so much right now. He was like, nobody's expecting you to do anything else. He was like, the house is fine. He was like, nobody is expecting you to do anything more than what you're doing right now. And he just like took me down a couple of notches and was like, it's okay. That's what our husbands are designed to do. Because as women, God knows we're the more emotional person. We were just created that way because God has a purpose in that. And we need our husbands to be the leader that we need to help us be the person that we need to be to bring God glory. And so I don't know why I said that, but I don't know why that came up this morning, but just throwing that out there, that I fully believe that God's plan for people was the best plan that there could have been. So, anyways, that needed to come up. Thank you. Yeah, it did. And I think so many times, the culture is trying to teach us that, what the Bible says means something different than what it means. Like, it means that we're not important, or either we should fight against that because we deserve to be whatever. And I know that because we live in a sinful, fallen world, there's so many women who have to step up and take on the role of leadership in their family, and either because of the lack of spiritual leadership, because of their spouse, or whatever the purpose may be, or because there is no spouse, and they are a single mom, and they're having to play both roles. And all I know is that God is with you in that, and if you'll surrender it to Him, He'll be everything that you need to get through it and help you, and